What's up, guys? I'm DK Wrestler, and today is the second installment of This Week in Funko News for 2025. And for those that are new to the channel, of course, this series is all about talking about the latest Funko news, whether it be individual pop announcements, something related to the Funko world, including leaks and NFTs and stuff like that. And then at the end of the video, I always comprise a top 5 list of my favorite Funko Pops that were announced this past week. Let's get right to it. Which first we're gonna kick off with something I forgot to bring up last week, which are some Pixar mini snow globes. What are you even doing, Funko? Just stick to the regular pops. Not the bitty pops, not the sodas, not the blockbuster rewinds, just regular pops, whether it's 4-inch, 6-inch, 10-inch, deluxe, moments. No one's gonna be wanting to get these. And I've already noticed in some of the comments that people are seeing these at Five Below when, as far as I know, these haven't released in stores yet, at least here in Canada. But our first official actual Funko Pop announcement is a pop of Penny Lane from the movie Almost Famous. Now, honestly, I've never heard of this movie before, but after looking at comments, there are quite a bit of people that are super excited about this. Next up, we have a set of pops for The Last Ronin, which this is pretty interesting. I do like the deluxe that is involved with The Last Ronin himself, where you do have a partially torn down building with a broken window, and he's stepping on some bricks. And having the rest of the turtles, because Michelangelo, of course, is the last Ronin, like Donatello, Raphael, and Leonardo with different posing and outfits are pretty cool. The one thing that does have a lot of people confused, including myself, is the 4-pack involving the last Ronin with what looks to be ghost forms of Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael. And that's because I think a lot of us, because of the design of this 4-pack, looks like it's going to be a glow-in-the-dark 4-pack, but it doesn't specify on the sticker itself that it's going to be that. Which I feel like it would be a missed opportunity if it's not glow-in-the-dark, but at the same time, I'm not really a fan of that 4-pack because pretty much the 3 pops are the exact same moldings. Next up, we have a brand new set of Transformers pops for the Retro Toys lineup, which I do like this mini set of pops, considering that 2 out of 3 pops are brand new Transformers that have not been made before. One of them being Omega Supreme, which looks really nice with the amount of detail that's involved, and that is the same thing with Cyclonus, which I remember a lot of people wanting previously in the Transformer set, but Hot Rod had previously been made before, as it was originally made as a redeemable for the Transformers Funko NFT set. Which I guess this is cool if you could never obtain that NFT pop to now have a Hot Rod. Next up, we have a set of Metal Gear Solid pops with Naked Snake and the Boss. Now, it is really cool to see some games that have never been made into Funko Pops before, because over the years, of course, we've had games like Sonic the Hedgehog have lots of pops. Of course, there's lots of fans for Five Nights at Freddy's, so there's lots of pops for that. And if we're going back to, let's say, 2018, 2019, there was an abundance of Fortnite pops. But it's always good to see something refreshing, something brand new like Metal Gear Solid that had never been made into pops previously. Snake does look really awesome with the way they pulled off the hair and the posing involved where he's holding the knife in his hand. And then adding another character like the Boss into it is pretty cool too. You don't need to make a set like this as massive as, let's say, a Sonic the Hedgehog or a Fortnite or a Five Nights at Freddy's. Just keeping it at 2 pops is perfectly fine. Next up is a pop of Spring Sprite from Fantasia 2000. Now, I've never seen the movie Fantasia, but obviously a lot of people do enjoy this movie, but overall still a pretty cool looking pop. Next up, we have a new pop of John Wick, which looks pretty sweet with the detail of the scratches across the face. There's of course the blood that is on a tire, and then the 2 weapons that he's holding in his hand. Now, I'm not sure whether this is from the older John Wick movies or from the more recent John Wick movies that they released in the last couple of years, but once again, nonetheless, still a pretty cool pop. Next up, we have a couple of pops from Alien 3, as we have an individual pop of the Runner, followed by a pop moments of Ripley and the Runner. The Runner alone is pretty sweet with the amount of detail, of course, using kind of the same molding as you normally see with Xenomorph, except making it brown, but then the detail of the moments is really awesome with how they execute executed the base and the facial expression involved with Ripley and then the bruise on the top of the head. Unfortunately, Alien once again is one of those movies that I haven't seen yet, and before you complain about why haven't you seen these movies, I mean, I do run 2 YouTube channels in order to pay my rent, so that's also a thing, so I'm quite busy in my life. And with some non-Funko Pop news, but still related to the Funko world in a way, Comic-Con International is committing to San Diego through 2027. But I thought I would mention that because of the future of San Diego Comic-Con exclusive pops. If you haven't heard previously, there was talks of San Diego Comic-Con potentially moving to a different city because of the fluctuation of the hotel pricings around the area that I would assume would cause San Diego Comic-Con to constantly have a lower attendance every year. And so now it looks like for the next 3 summers, we can still call our summer convention exclusives as San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, because imagine a world where maybe, let's say if they moved to Las Vegas, for instance, we would have to start calling it Las Vegas Comic-Con exclusive. It just doesn't roll off the tongue by saying LVCC rather than SDCC, in my opinion. A brand new pop moments had been announced with Charlie Brown and Lucy from Peanuts that's going to be exclusive to Target. Now this is a pretty cool looking pop, especially with what looks to be Charlie Brown slipping on something and now he's in the air, with of course the whole trend of the speech bubble thing that seems to be following along with a lot of pops going into 2025. Entertainment Earth had announced their own exclusive pop of an upside down Spider-Gwen. This does look pretty cool, and it does make sense because previously we have seen, I believe, both Spider-Man and then the Miles Morales version of Spider-Man in this exact same posing, so I'm not too surprised that we actually have it now with Gwen Stacy, or Spider-Gwen in this case. Hot Topic had announced their own exclusive pops of a Diamond Collection Rainbow Bright and Kuromi for Hello Kitty and Friends. Now, I don't know too much about either or of these pops, and these likely for sure will not be a part of that top 5 list I'm going to do at the end of the video. And last but not least, before we move on to the top 5 list, it is officially announced that TargetCon 2025 reveals will begin next Friday, which of course is very cool, but we already know like 3 of the exclusives that were announced, which are Beetlejuice, the Fossil Velociraptor, and then the Wade Wilson from Deadpool and Wolverine. And hopefully the next 5 weeks of these reveals are brand new reveals and not just re-announcements of these pops that we already know about. But now it's officially time to do the top 5 list of my favorite pops that were announced this past week. Which, coming in at number 5 on my list, is the brand new John Wick. Like I mentioned earlier, there is tons of detail involved with this pop, like the way the hair is, the scrapes on the face, and especially the blood involved on the shirt of John Wick. However, I don't have much of a personal reaction towards it because I haven't really seen any of the John Wick movies. Yes, I know I'm disappointing you guys once again with another movie I have yet to see. Coming in at number 4 of my list is Spring Sprite from Fantasia 2000. Now, like I mentioned, this is a really cool pop with a lot of detail involved, but once again, I don't have much of a personal reaction towards it, so that's why it's not really high up on the list. Coming in at number 3 on my list is Naked Snake from Metal Gear Solid. This is a really cool pop with a lot of detail, and it's so refreshing to see a video game that has never had pops before to finally have some in the Funko Pop lineup. And of course, I felt like I had to choose Snake over the boss since he is the main character of the series. Coming in at number 2 on my list is Omega Supreme from the Transformers lineup. I felt that I had to choose a Transformers pop on this list, but it was a matter of who I was going to pick, and I thought that Omega Supreme had the most amount of detail out of all 3 of the pops, especially with the way that the face looks compared to the other Transformers pops that they've done in the past. I could have went with Cyclonus, but I gravitated more towards Omega Supreme more than I did with Cyclonus, although I would consider that maybe a honorable mention on this list, which I guess spoils the fact that Cyclonus does not make number 1 on this list. And coming in at number 1 on my list is the Ripley and the Runner moments from Alien 3. Once again, like I mentioned, there is a lot of detail, whether it's involving with the base, the runner, or even just the facial expression and the scuffing detail involved with Ripley herself. They did such a great job. There is a mouth added to it, which is not too often when you have human characters have mouths on their Funko Pops. So even though this was a difficult list to do because I felt like this was a very lackluster week with Funko Pop announcements, I do feel that as turns to detail that this specific moments from Alien 3 was the best Funko Pop that was announced this past week. Anyways guys, that's gonna be the end of today's video. If you enjoyed today's video of me talking about this week's Funko Pop news, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down below on what your favorite Funko Pops were that got announced this week, and I hope to see you guys on another video here on the channel. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.